Leaving the house, turning off the tablet, starting homework. Why do simple transitions trigger meltdowns? The answer isn't defiance, it's biology. So, why are transitions so hard for so many kids? Of course, and us parents too. Well, think of transitions as mini stressors that require the brain to stop in one state and switch to another. When we start thinking about this, what's happening in the brain, right? And, those transitions become increasingly hard when we don't have moments of regulation in between. And that's what's happening with our kids. They're just in constant overload. Not many kids, except for probably homeschoolers, really have downtime where they are regulating in their own nervous system. But don't you worry, we're going to talk about how to help our kids transition better because this is one of the top issues that I know you're facing. Kids with ADHD, autism, anxiety, sensory issues, they struggle more because flexibility requires extra energy that they might not have, especially if they are restrictive eating and not getting enough fuel, if they have additional stressors, just lots of things. It just makes it harder. There's not enough gas left in their engine to switch. But again, don't worry about it. The dysregulated brain can't switch gears as easily. So we know that the prefrontal cortex, that's the brain's CEO, goes offline in stress. When dysregulated kids can't process, it's time to stop and start something new. Their meltdowns are just an outward, right, white flag. It's letting you know that this is too much. I need help. I need rescuing. I need support. Now, we never want to rescue, but we want to teach our kids. So, what are triggers that we often miss, particularly as kids get older? We think they're less sensitive to things like hunger, thirst, fatigue, sensory overload. We certainly recognize that with young kids. And there's those great commercials about being hangry, right, with Snickers. It's true. Unpredictable routines, new routines, increase anxiety. Lots of kids have anticipatory anxiety and demands that feel sudden or rushed or even critical. That really means your nervous system is just much more likely to shut down. Again, particularly in our neurodivergent population, our kids that are already struggling with mental health. And just know that when your kid isn't transitioning properly, that your child isn't refusing because they don't care. They're overwhelmed because their brain can't switch gears without your help. Think of your help as scaffolding, again, not rescuing. And, years ago, I worked with a family like many others who felt like a particular time was a war. And in this family, they felt that the morning was the war and that really getting him out the door resulted in him like just being a puddle of tears on the floor, and he would just collapse and be sobbing, and they would do everything like begging, bribing, dragging him, physically dragging him out the door. There were even times the school would come to their house and try to help them, and nothing worked. Everyone was stuck in a lot of pressure. And of course, there's the pressure of truancy. What stopped? Like what changed thing was actually a reset stop. Instead of just jumping in, I had them take 2 minutes. They would, sit on the stairs or sit in chairs or sit on the couch. So they were grounded. And I would have this little guy squeezing his mom's hand, taking some water. We even, of course, I love me some good essential oils. I had some essential oils and just a micro calming before it was like, get out of bed, go here, do that. This is what they did before he even had breakfast. If he needed a second one before he went out the door, they did it. It helped him. And let's really go into what they did beyond this micro reset to really help get him to transition, for which for him was to get out the door. So, what actually helped? Well, previewing and predictability does a lot for kids with transition issues. We think these kids are smart, they're capable, they should know better. Their sister can, their brother can, the dog can. But some kids struggle with transitioning again. And now you're starting to understand it's their nervous system resisting. We're not taking this personally. We're looking at this as a dysregulation detective and really thinking about why is this dysregulation happening? So, give warnings. 5 minutes, we're leaving. You can use visual timers. I love to use the timer on the microwave and then it starts beeping and then it's clear. You just need consistency. Two, co regulation first. Your calm cues the nervous system safety, soft tone, steady presence, calm breathing. And in this case, they sat down, hand squeeze, no pressure, no talking, just a couple minutes of regulating. A little bit of water helped this kid to kind of reset without somebody being like, come on, let's go. And it really, those micro resets, which was the third thing they did, builds in breaks between transitions. I talk about all the time when you come off a device, you can't just say, switch to this. You need physical movement because their brain is still stuck in that dopamine hit cycle of the device. And even the most typical kids can have full meltdowns. Super helpful. Number four, you want to offer limited choices. Limited choices can be a game changer. Sometimes it's like, what do you want to do next? I don't know, right? Do you want to walk or skip to the car? Do you want to have the blue one or the green one? Do you want to do your homework now or do you want to listen to some music for a few minutes? Reducing choices reduces resistance and increases control for kids. And control makes you feel happier. So kids are going to find control in any way they can. Let's give them healthy control that sets them up not just now for success, but the future. Five, you always want to practice transitions in low stress moments. Rehearse routines when calm, not just in the heat of the moment. And this builds brain pathways through repetition and safety because they're not in an activated state. A lot can happen in the calm. What do you need to do this week? How can you start helping transitions be better, healthier, not so friction filled? So, one, you're going to add a warning, a micro reset, and one calming cue. Okay. Make sure to reinforce the behaviors you want to see. That does not mean that they are transitioning perfectly. You can say things like, wow, I saw that you transition, you got to getting starting your homework a lot easier. That's fantastic. I like to follow up when you're moving forward in this and you're getting really good at it. What do you think was different? Kids might say, I don't know. You can say, well, I noticed X, Y, and Z. I noticed that you took a moment and used your essential oils. Wow, I think your brain is saying thank you. Like you just get it in there. Track what changes you want to see and look at what happens when you regulate first. This week I was annoying JC about having this little mini shake that I put in his lunch. So after the third day, he did it. And I said, oh, so did you do it because you recognized you needed it before soccer? And he said, no. And I said, oh, did you do it because you knew you had to do it? No. And I said, oh, did you do it because you knew your mother would annoy you enough? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, well, that's great. And your brain is happy for it. And he was cracking up. I was like, okay, so is this a good routine? He said, yeah, I actually think it is a good routine. We use a lot of humor. And I think that's important. Just know that transitions will always be a part of your life, right? We're here to help guide our kids. And when you really start looking at it differently, that it's not willpower, it's about regulation. And when you stop fighting your child and their behaviors and actually start guiding their brain, that is when they start to be able to transition more easily. And again, this is something a lot of kids have to learn. And sometimes it's harder, but you can do it. If you want more step by step strategies to help your child regulate, then subscribe to the Dysregulation Insider newsletter, drroseanne.com/newsletter. I would love to hear how this newsletter is helping you. So if you're on YouTube, please drop a comment below. You're always so lovely on YouTube, and I really appreciate it. And if you're already on my email list, just reply back and tell me one thing, how this helped you, or what you want to hear more of. Because honestly, we read every single thing. And just know that the more you do these things, the more you regulate, the more you focus on regulation first for yourself and your child, things like transitioning will be just pleasant because it really can get to that, even when you feel like it's such a friction point. I promise you, you'll get to the other side.
Want more insights and solutions? Well, subscribe to our Dysregulation Insider and it will show up in your inbox every week.